Hey, I thought while you watch these training clips, I'd ramble on a bit about some thoughts I have stemming from a podcast that I recently listened to named Kung Fu Conversations. This episode was about the shareability of the Chinese martial arts. In this podcast, man, they were pointed at the relatively negative aspects of the overall Chinese martial art community, such as how instructors do not get along with each other, how they hold back from sharing, how they point at the lack of growth and exploration within, and how this is going to cause the arts to die off, making other methods more sustainable. Like I said, it was a spotlight podcast focused on potential negatives or dangers. Things that are, I guess, pretty good to understand and know, but are hardly endemic if quality control is maintained. It is what it is, though. Not everyone is going to be worth their salt, especially in such a broad community such as Chinese martial arts. Now, I only bring this all up because in the podcast, I feel like we, the South Mantis community, were called out when they referenced Southern Praying Mantis teachers as being in the forefront of this type of closed mentality. My ears perked up as SPM is my flagship study. I've been training SPM since I was a kid. I know many of the practitioners and teachers in the real world. Many times we've shared meals together and trained in each other's homes. Teachers from north, south, east, and west all over the US. In other words, hands-on sharing and training with other practitioners is how I have learned the art. I recognize I'm fortunate in my exposure from such a young age, but nonetheless, I trained with other people, a community. Point is, Southern Praying Mantis is a relatively small community and we generally know who is who, leaving little room for such drama as far as I'm concerned. Now for sure, not all practitioners are up to par, and not everyone who has studied learned, and not all who retained openly teach, and yes, some who learned never understood, and sometimes they resort to games in order to play teacher. I can only assume whoever they're referencing from SPM would fit into these lesser categories and can be disregarded. Every man is responsible for their own habits, their own reputation. As for the shareability of Chinese martial arts, a more real issue is when people come to the Wuguan to cherry pick through the system. Usually, not always, but usually, these people come from other arts or from other teachers, and they feel entitled and justified in reaching for the fruits high up in the branches, without a true understanding of the process or the community standards that allowed for the healthy growth of the fruit. These silly people oftentimes want to be teachers and not students. They come to expect the fruits be handed over and assume that they'll be just as amazing as if they themselves grew the tree. There are some who might condone this, but it's not the true way. I know I can be a bit blunt in my words, but I speak truly here. Not all Southern Mantis is good Southern Mantis. It's not hate for the sake of hate, it's just fact. Strength comes from structure, time under tension coupled with time under intention. It's a modern theme to learn the outline of a form today and upload it tomorrow as representation, authority. But it happens, oftentimes stealthily edited. This is misleading at best. Gong Fu will bloom for every generation a new flower, but only if the roots are properly maintained. So what does it mean to share the martial arts in this day and age? Does it mean provide an online store and sell DVDs to anyone with a debit card? Should all forms be posted online in hopes that someone can decipher the intent behind them? Should we leave it up to the customer to decide how to train and just hope it's not watered down at the local YMCA? Or should the art remain as it has for some time, regulated and respected by both teacher and student? Hand to hand, heart to heart. Skill development can only be achieved through individual effort, which is made possible in groups. Having a coach feed you the viable training methods You learn how to train by training with others. This is how I learned, and this is how I teach. This channel is my way of sharing the simple fact that there are still teachers putting in the time required and with the ability and the heart to share. As I said, I don't know precisely who these folks are referencing when they said SPM teachers are not friendly with each other and are unwilling to share. But I would encourage you to ignore these rumors, as I assure you, there are people out there putting in the time.